Hi, I'm Matt. I'm a mechanical engineer at Dyson, and everybody I work with at Dyson will, on their first day, take apart and put back together a Dyson vacuum cleaner to understand how it goes together and how it works. What we're going to do today is exactly that with this DC39. We're going to take our telescopic wand and we're just going to set that to one side. The next thing we're going to do is find this silver bin release button, which will pop up the handle and allow us to remove the bin. You can see on here a nice bright red button, draws your attention and opens the bin, just like that. On the underside of that bin, we've got these two rubber seals, and what they do is separate the different chambers of our cyclone and keep the dirt in the right place. Then we've got the bin. The outer separates the large particles. It then passes through these smaller, powerful cyclones and into the pre-motor filter that you find in the top of the bin. Now we're going to turn our attention back to the main chassis and the steering mechanism on the underside. Now we're going to remove these four larger screws. You're going to need a T15 screwdriver. So 1, 2, 3, 4 are going to come out. And you're going to place those to one side in a cup or just somewhere safe. Now we've removed those four screws, it's time to remove our steering mechanism. To do that, this steering plate needs to pull away from the main ball to separate a small sliding pin just in the middle here. After you've done that, the whole thing lifts off. And we're going to set that steering mechanism just to one side. Now that the chassis has been removed, we're going to take off these two ball shells that form the wheels of the vacuum cleaner. So again, we're going to need the T15 screwdriver, and we're just going to remove that screw from the outside there. Now this screw, you'll notice, has a kind of cone-shaped head. It's called countersunk, and for that reason, we're going to keep it separately from the other screws we've removed so far. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Now that we've removed those two screws, these outer shells will just pull away. And you can see inside, they've got this ribbed structure with lots of little walls crisscrossing. If that does prove a little bit difficult to remove, you can take a flathead screwdriver and just gently force it away like that. Now, have a look for a small recess just here, near where the ball was attached. And you'll see a screw going down, holding two halves together. We're going to take our T15 screwdriver again and just remove that on each side. Now these screws are slightly longer than the first four that we took out. So again, I want you to put those separately from the first four screws and from those two countersunk screws that we took out of the wheel. Now we've removed those two, we're going to flip our machine over and find another 8 recesses. 2, 3, 4, and the same on the other side. We're going to use our T15 screwdriver to remove all 8 of those now. Take those two halves and just gently pull them apart from each other. If you feel any resistance, you might need to go back to 1 or 2 screws and just loosen them a little bit further. Now I'm just going to tip this over and gently collect up all the 8 screws that I loosened. Now those 8 screws are the longer type of the 2 different lengths that we've removed so far. So I'm going to put them with the pair that we removed a few moments ago. Now removing that other half has revealed this white pleated material. It's kind of folded back on itself a lot of times. And this is what we call our post-motor filter. So it's the last stage of air filtration that our machine has. Also housed inside here is the cable rewind unit. So when we extend that cord, this button lets us withdraw that cable back into the machine. Now, to go any further with this disassembly, we've next got to remove this small tool catch. So take a Phillips head screwdriver and remove that single screw and just place that to one side. Now that piece of plastic comes away very easily, and we're just going to place that to one side. With that tool catch removed, the next stage is to remove some screws that are underneath this handle. Now this bit's a little bit tricky. Push the bin release button to make the handle pop up. The next thing we're going to need to do is push back these two small catches on each side of the handle. Push a screwdriver just inside there, gently lever it out to release that catch. Come around to the other side and do exactly the same thing. Once we've released both of those catches, this handle can open right up and reveals two more screws. Let's take our T15 again and remove those two. And set those to one side with the shorter set of screws that we've been removing. The next stage is a little bit tricky. We're going to go to each side of the machine and this little white tab, and we're going to have to push that back inside to be able to remove this lower assembly. Screwdriver between the two. Just gently lever it past. And come round to do the same thing on the other side. Once you've got those two catches out, extend the cable a little bit, making sure the buttons are out the way. We're just going to gently separate those two halves. To reveal the cable rewind unit inside. Take a look at the mechanism and how it works. You can also remove this lower part which houses the main vacuum motor. And you can see the impeller spinning in there. You can also see this part which houses the motor. Now that takes our electrical power in and uses it to spin an impeller. It's like a big fan, and that's what produces the suction which helps our machines to clean. The other thing we can see now between the two buttons is this small black circle which is actually sprung. You can push it back, and that is a relief valve. So if the machine gets blocked up, that valve will open and let the motor draw enough airflow to keep everything cool. Well done, you've successfully disassembled your DC39.